diplomatic service after having graduated in international relations. Some of his most important roles we can highlight being the ambassador of Israel to Spain, working in the Department of European Organizations. He was the Deputy Director for the United Nations and international organizations, and his last charge between 2020 and 2022 was the Political Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you very much for being here, Ambassador. Then we have His Excellency, the Ambassador Dr. Naser al-Belooshi, who is very kind to be here today, of which we can remember that he holds a doctorate with honors and a master's degree in economics. He was the executive director of the Bahrain Monetary Agency, the executive director of the Arab Monetary Fund in Abu Dhabi. He participated in the free trade agreement with the United States and was the ambassador. And was the ambassador of the Kingdom of Bahrain to Washington, accredited to the United States, Canada, and Argentina. Later on, he was ambassador to France, and currently he is the ambassador here in Italy. So today we are here to talk about the ever-changing and significant changes that have occurred in the Middle East thanks to the Abraham Accords that were signed in 2015, thanks to, in Washington, between the United Arab Emirates, Israel, and the Kingdom of Bahrain. So now we will launch a brief video in which we will So now I will leave the floor to the ambassadors who will tell us a bit about how these joint normalization statements influenced economically, socially, and in general, the influence that they had on the diplomatic relations for their country in the Middle East. Thank you very much. I leave the floor to Ambassador of Israel.
Thank you. Just to say, and it is important that I'm not yet an ambassador, I'm designated ambassador to Italy because President Mattarella was quite busy in the last few weeks and I didn't have the opportunity to present my credentials yet. So, a correction, important, thank you, an important correction. We are marking now 2 years for the Abraham Accord, and it is still quite an exciting endeavor for us in the effort to try to understand how to work and how to put a lot of content and activity into this agreement. But it is important to start by mentioning that they represent a significant change in the way we, in the Middle East, and the countries that are involved in the Abraham Accords, and the Kingdom of Morocco is also, of course, part of it, in the way we look at ourselves in the region as a group of countries, and our challenges. And may I say also in the way that we think other countries are looking at our region, and maybe those that are not yet looking at it that way should start to look at it that way. Because it's for the first time that it's not only the different countries with very diverse positions, sometimes conflicting position on different issues, with different economic systems, with different religions, and sometimes region marked by confrontation, into a region that have some common interest and is willing to try to look at that common interest and to look how to identify ourselves as a group of countries to try to challenge this in a different way than in the past. The challenges have not disappeared. The sources of conflict, the economic problems, the tension, sometimes religious, political tension related to the Palestinian issue, conflict in the area has not disappeared, threat have not disappeared, the water problems, environment problems, all of them are still there. But we have something new. And the new thing is the ability to try to see whether there are, on some of this issue, we can cooperate and work together in order to deal with these challenges. This is something new for us as an identity of the region and as a new phenomenon that side by side the different old ways we dealt with it, try to look on other different challenges. As I said, common challenges. I think for us, one of the most important things is the identification, courageous identification by the King of Bahrain, the King of, late King of United Arab Emirates, King of Morocco, that Israel is relevant for the common challenges and the regional challenges, including the security ones, but not only, and that working with Israel is something that could benefit this country. And in a way, even the Palestinian, which was the main reason in the past for not having this cooperation, it could also be helpful. We've managed quite a lot in the 2 years. When you look at the relationship of country with the 2 years and mark the fact that again, in many, this country, we don't have a common border, and we have a very different system, economical, social, etc. The number of visitors, mainly from Israel, I have to say this, mainly from Israel to Bahrain, to United Arab Emirates, has exceeded 500,000 people. There have been less visits to Israel, but a lot more than in the past. And this is a key element in order to try to get over information in the press that is, I don't want to say that it is always distorted, but it always comes with an agenda, and it always gives a certain aspect, and it always focuses on the problem, which is, again, natural for the press. Knowing each other personally by visiting and meeting creates a different thing. But also when it comes to increasing business intersection, more than 2 billion with both United Arab Emirates and Bahrain of exchange, investment in the region, visiting. There is 3 daily flights from the region into Israel and back, daily flights. So a lot of business people coming there. Israel participated very strongly on the international exhibition in Abu Dhabi with a very big and invested in pavilion where hundreds of thousands of people visited, and we see the beginning of investment in our region from businessmen from both of these countries and from funds that are related or connected to the royal families of both countries. So the element of trying to deal with meetings and trying to create the people-to-people contact has been achieved in a significant way. We still hope to have a lot more. The number, we have tens of different agreements that were signed, on cooperation on sport, cooperation on water management, cooperation and investment, avoiding double taxation, economic, of course, what have you. Really a great number. But I think one of the most important steps that was taking is the creation of the mega forum, a forum in which both Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Israel, and Egypt participate, but also with the strong participation of the United States and the creation of 6 different working groups on water, on food security, on climate change or energy, on tolerance, on salud, medicine, and yes, also on regional security and regional stability. It is time for the people in our region to see for themselves the benefit of this agreement. This is an important focus of this working group. They don't want to see only politicians and members of parliament and maybe even business people meet each other to make business. They want to see how this is relevant for their life, for their salaries, for their industry, for their capacity to create an innovating society, and the problems that after the pandemic, right now with the Russia invasion to Ukraine, is creating around the world, shortage of water, shortage of energy, shortage of wheat, on all of this. And this is the meaning of the cooperation. We want to create relevancy. When you make an agreement with one of these partners to the Abraham Accord, Jordan and Israel, to create desalination plant in the Mediterranean to lead water to Jordan, and then solar panels in Jordan in order to give electricity to the Palestinian and Israel, with the investment and knowledge that it comes to one of the Arab countries, it is a translation of this agreement into practical steps. And now we are approaching the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. It deals with environment, and you will see a lot of this cooperation taking place. And it is time that we develop this cooperation, and not only friendly countries, as important as they are, Italy, Europe, the United States, sit together and somehow trying to help us get together. We should get together to define our interests and work together with one another. I think it's fair to say that positive incentives, I mentioned some of them, to create that kind of regional network, cooperation, agreements, etc., are important. But negative incentive is also a very powerful motivation. And it's an important part of this cooperation is the concern from the threat. The threat, as I said, of environment, the threat, as I said, of water and energy shortages, but also the threat of security to our region has been and continue to be an important motivation. I think it is also important for others, Europe, NATO, and others, to look at that cooperation based also on the creation of regional cooperation for regional stability is an important element and basis for cooperation and identifying again the interest of this country, because I believe that it has a major importance in order to be able to continue to work with us on some global challenges. Some of them I mentioned it as and others related to China, related to Russia, related to the situation in Ukraine. Now, when we see Iran cooperating with Russia by giving it drones to participate in attacks on Ukraine, and we see Iranians sending military experts to be in Crimea and other places in Ukraine to help them, we see the attention of the NATO, of the international community, about the concern coming from Iran. But Iran has been a problem using drones for quite some time in our region, threatening stability, threatening Israel, but also threatening Saudi Arabia, threatening United Arab Emirates, threatening Bahrain, regional and internal stability in all this country. And we didn't always have enough support or attention for our security concern. from countries outside our region. I think it is important, and part of the Abraham Accord and the Negev Summit and the Negev Forum was with the sight on creating better understanding for the United States mainly, which are a member of this forum, but also for others, about the regional perspective and threat perception and the need to take it into account if we want to achieve stability and global stability in other places. I think for this stage, this will be enough. And later on, you can have a question and we'll have an open conversation. So thank you for this.
Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure, frankly speaking, to be speaking to the students. I love because in the beginning of my career, I was a professor at the university. I used to teach a very boring subject, which is economics. And the people who are behind used to nod most of the time. But I try always to create something so that I make them awake. So really, it's a great pleasure to see you and great pleasure to talk to you. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Aurelio Regina and Dr. Giorgio Bertolomucci, Ambassador Gian Piero Masolo, for inviting me to talk about Abraham Accord from the perspective of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Ambassador Alon Barr, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, I would like to start that after each negative event, we come with lessons to prevent such event to happen again, or if it happens, at least it will have less negative effect on us. Since the devastating World War II, and we saw amazing advancement in the domain of technology, business, and especially in the field of protecting human advancement in all walks of life, frankly speaking, health, technology, and everything. I was born in 1953, and I saw many changes. From without a telephone, today we have a cell phone that we can deal with. So we have seen a lot of changes in our life. But unfortunately, always after the Second World War, the conflicts continued around the globe on account of different causes. I don't want to say what are the causes. We are maybe still in a state of no war and no peace. But while, for example, we go to dine tonight with our friends in a good restaurant, there are people who are dying from hunger, they are dying from the war, they are dying everywhere. I mean, from the frontiers of China till the frontiers of Latin America, there are people are dying of hunger. Today we have something which is in Ukraine. We never thought that this will happen here in Europe, nearby. It's very devastating, and the European people have suffered a lot from the First World War and Second World War. Many people died, etc. So today, frankly speaking, we see Abraham Accord has come to create an atmosphere of real peace, of real trial for peace. And of course, it didn't come from a void. There was a prayer to it. There were months of negotiations. And before that, if you remember very well, Jared Kushner, under the administration of Mr. Trump, they organized an economic conference in Bahrain to help the Palestinian people and other people. And all the Gulf countries were ready to participate in this fund in order to help the others. But unfortunately, many Palestinians and others has refused to attend this conference. So, I mean, I don't know whether it was successful or not, but it did, I mean, since people are not wanting to be helped, it will be annoying to us. But we continue always to help who are in need, especially the Gulf people I am talking. We always try to be helpful to others. So this Abraham Accord, when it came, after a month of negotiating, by the help of the former administration of the United States, it's a series of peace agreements that to be signed between Israel and several Arab countries. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain were among the first to sign it. First, United Arab Emirates, it was in August 15 that they have agreed on it, and 15 we have signed with them the agreement. Although there is still much to be done, it's definitely the basic step towards peace between Israel and the Arab world. So almost more than 2 years now has elapsed since the signature of has been indicated by Ambassador designate, so that he will not be unhappy. 2 years has elapsed, and frankly speaking, there are lots of agreements which has been signed between Bahrain and the state of Israel. Around 42 agreements has been signed in all domains, like His Excellency the Ambassador indicated, in bilateral cooperation, since it is for the first time they signed an agreement. So there are a lot of things to be done beforehand. So these agreements are what we call it the pedestal of the good relationship based on good intention and good steps for further cooperation. Not only 42 agreements, but there are more 15 agreements are in the way to be, and they are in the pipeline to be also negotiated and signed. There is also in the pipeline a free trade agreement like that we have signed with the United States and with other countries. That means all the products that are fabricated in Israel with 35% content of national content will enter into Bahrain without any barriers, without any customs duties. Means Israeli products will be cheaper than other products who are competing in the same market. And likewise, Bahraini products will enter into Israeli market without any. Both these countries has experienced a free trade agreement with the United States. So I think the laws and regulations in both countries are similar. They have similarities that they can achieve this free trade agreement in an easier way. Recently, there has been a conference on organized, I think, by FAO, and our Minister of Work and Agriculture went there, and also he signed an agreement with Israel because they have a great experience. Israel has got a great experience by using seawater to create trees that are eatable for the humans. So these are all good things for both people. We benefit from each other and we know each other. And of course, we in Bahrain, we believe that we believe in 3 core values. Number 1 is peace. That's why we have never hesitated to sign an agreement without any conditions. Name it, without any conditions with the state of Israel. And we believe, His Majesty the King, our King, believes that by making peace for peace is better than making war for peace. So this will break all the formal ways of doing things that we have to go through war so that we can make peace. No, we can do peace to create more peace, because peace is much better and less costly than war. I just in the library I saw a book entitled "The Cost of Peace." I said, why they did not say the cost of war? Because the cost of war are more devastating. We believe that the other benefit will be, of course, the social benefit, which is extremely important. And by creating peace is that you release what we call it the human right element, which is the second core value that we believe in. Because when you create peace, people can work, can create, can innovate, can do lots of things because they live in a peaceful manner. And believe me, the cost of peace sometimes, for example, if we take for Iran, if there will be a state of peace in their country, they cannot function because immediately the people will go against them. But we believe that peace is extremely important, and it will continue. The other element that I would like to stress is the social impact. You know, the Arabs as well as the Israelis, they were under pressure by their by education or by the atmosphere that they used to live in, that those are your enemies, you don't go to them, if you go they will kill you. And likewise for the Arab, it is the same thing. Although, I mean, in Bahrain we have frankly speaking 2 synagogues, but definitely there has been people who were feeding this feeling about animosity, etc. So now with the Abraham Accord being open, it will open and release the people. People can go to Israel and see how the Israelis are, the kids, how they live, how they are like any other people. They want to live peacefully. They want to live with their kids. They want to give them good education. They want to give them good income. They want to buy cars. They want to go everywhere. Likewise, for the Israelis to see the Arabs, that they are the same thing as them. They like their families. They want to rear them. They are not always terrorists and they want to kill people. No, they are also people of peace. And so this interaction between the Israelis today with Bahrain, we have 3 flights. Gulf Air goes 3 times to. We are hoping that Al Al also will put some others, at least for to create program to visit Bahrain and other countries in the region. This will create more relationship, tourism and social visits will create more relationship. We had the impact of business definitely have also a very important impact, because if the Israelis will enter into the domain of health and be doctors, and they come, it will be always a good thing, this type of mixing between. So it's very important that we try to enlarge this Abraham Accord. In a different event about geopolitics, I suggested that we create, maybe here in Italy, a group of, we call it group of Friends of Abraham Accord, because we think that Abraham Accord is the way that could be adopted by all the conflicts that exist even in around us. It could create peace, and we could enlarge it and enlarge the number of Arab countries entering into peace with Israel. And of course, it's important also for Israel to start negotiating with the open peace process with the Palestinians, so that the peaceful process, even if there is one glimpse of agreement between the two, the authority and Israel, they should start with it. I think this is a very important thing. I think this is what I wanted to say for the moment, and later on we could answer your questions. I am sure you will ask. Thank you very much.
So, questions? Yeah.
Good morning, Your Excellency. I'm Lorenzo Montino. I have a question that can be answered for both of you. And my question is, how is it possible that these three countries that are historically, how can I say, distant, come out with an agreement that is so much important and very fair about the geopolitical situation in both your region? And this allows us to still hope in a good diplomacy between also countries that maybe has some different relationship. And is it true that having a hostile country helps to create more an agreement, more easier an agreement on this fact, like the Abramo Accord? And the last one is it true that also Saudi Arabia will join to this accord to create more peaceful situation in both Middle East and also in the Arab region? Thank you.
He started.
I start now? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the questions. You know, between, I mean, the three religions of, we call them the heavenly religions, like Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, they are Abrahamic. They come from one person who is Abraham. We are all the children of Abraham, and therefore we have always lived together. I mean, during the wars, for example, in Spain, when when there were wars, many Jews went to Morocco, and some others went to other places, and the Jews were, I mean, they were living in the Arabian Peninsula all the time before the even arrival of Islam, and many Jews also became Muslims later on because of different reasons. Definitely, I mean, the relationship between the Jews and the Arabs didn't have any problem. Only when the conflict between Palestinians and started in 1948, they have this problem arise. So the issue is not social, it is more political rather than social. So that's why it is now, since there is with this Abraham Abraham Accord, there is the possibility of seeing each other and working with each other. It is very easy for us to deal with the Israelis and with the Jews in a very easy way. And of course, you have asked another question about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has, since 2002, they have suggested the Arab proposal, which is complete relationship with Israel, and it should abide to the frontiers of 1967 and abide to the articles that has been issued by the United Nations. So, I mean, but the airplanes, I think, and others are using the Saudi space to come to Bahrain and to go to United Arab Emirates. And we, as part of the GCC countries, we have the liberty to do sovereign agreements according to our needs with other countries. So there was no rejection from Saudi Arabia to do this deal. I just wanted to tell you that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Challenges can be a source of or a reason for cooperation in order to overcome them, but they can be also a source of conflict. This is also true about religions. All religions, and definitely the Muslim, the Jewish, Christian, have a lot of text preaching for tolerance, cooperation, and living together. But they also have text of criticism to other religions, etc. It is for political leaders to take political and sometimes also religious leaders, to take from the text what is it that they want to achieve. I will say that unfortunately, in the last maybe even 100 years, in most cases, religion was exacerbating, strengthening conflict rather than softening it. And I think this is why it was so important to call it the Abraham Accords, because we wanted to show that we have a common father, and that based also on religious dialogue, we can create this kind of cooperation that is so important for all of us. We mentioned earlier, I think only perspective of time will tell us how significant it was. But for us at least, I mean, Israel that for quite some time had agreements with Egypt, with Jordan, and some with the Palestinian. After many years without any agreement, signing these agreements was very important, created this fundamental change to show the Israeli people that we are part of this region. And maybe even the agreement that is about to be signed between Israel and Lebanon on the maritime border, hopefully in the next few days, is another example of an agreement that can be signed even with countries that do not have diplomatic relationship and have a lot of difficulty between them, but when there is a common interest and when all the international community is hungry for gas reservoirs and exploiting them, we can also sign agreement and cooperate. On Saudi Arabia, we of course would very much hope that Saudi Arabia will also join the Abraham Accords and other countries, Oman, Qatar, Mauritania. We want to see this really a regional basis for cooperation. There are challenges. The ambassador mentioned some of them. At the end of the day, my own position is that the Arab countries who sign agreement with Israel and have embassies in Israel have a better chance to influence Israeli position on the Palestinian issue than those who say, first of all, solve your problem with the Palestinian, and then we'll create a diplomatic relationship. This was a position that for many years blocked. It didn't have the Palestinian. It didn't improve the position of Israel or the relationship with the Palestinian. He just avoided opportunities, some of them were mentioned here, of things that we can work together and contribute to. He said the environment, cybersecurity and security of infrastructure, health, innovation, things that Israel is well known for. And I think that can, if we work together, can contribute. And hopefully it will also create the kind of necessary environment in order to improve life and relationship between us and our neighbors and the Palestinians. So my own hope is that we'll find a way to include other countries, maybe even countries that do not have diplomatic relations with Israel, but to participate in some of the activity of the Negev Forum or some of the activity on environment. At the end of the day, environment doesn't recognize borders. If we have a drought problem, we have scarcity of water in all our region, that is a common problem. If there is a pandemic, that is a common problem. If we don't deal with it in full cooperation, then, you know, there is this saying that if we don't hang with one another, we'll be hanged one on the side of the others, like that. So I think we would want to see cooperation, maybe at the beginning less than a diplomatic relationship on things that are of common interest, and some of it, I may say carefully, that already exist when it comes to some of the challenges that we identified as very important for all of us.
Good afternoon, my name is Nadezhda, and thank you, ambassadors, for bringing this very interesting topic. And as it was said, and it is widely known that Iran represents a threat in the region, and this is one of the points that brought the creation of the Abraham Accords to life. And my question is, can we say that in the future, more states hopefully will join Abraham Accords, and that Abraham Accords is a starting point for creation something similar to NATO that would successfully preserve peace in the region against Iran, Russia, and other external threats? Thank you.
Thank you. I think it is too early to talk about creation of a rigid framework like NATO with a level of commitment and agreement and structure that is between countries that had a lot of common and long-standing diplomatic relationship, but also social, cultural, and economic proximity. We are talking in a replacement for NATO, you would say, or different structure that is a little bit more loose. And the Negev Forum is an example of this. Try to focus, as both the Ambassador of Bahrain and myself said, on the social impact, on people-to-people meetings, and try to look at, in some cases, also security challenges in a more discrete level of cooperation that already exists in both sharing intelligence on common. I mentioned the issue of Iranian drones, which represent a serious threat for all our countries and the regional instability. So trying to share information, and in some cases more than information, on how to try to deal with these challenges is something that will and does take place in different discrete forum, military forum, etc. The fact that Israel is now included in CENTCOM, which is the American division of the world, is that CENTCOM is in charge of all the Arab and Gulf country and the Fifth Fleet, and of course its basis in Bahrain. And Israel is now including that, gives an opportunity for all sorts of dialogue and sometimes cooperation on different military level when we identify things that are of mutual concern for us. NATO is, as I said, is a lot more structured and rigid organization, and at this stage, with of course the high level, the Article 5 commitment of countries going to war if one of them is attacked, I don't think that that will happen very soon in our region. We should, as I said, we should look on other models of cooperation, like maybe the OSCE and others were countries, other structures of cooperation and dialogue.
I personally, I agree with His Excellency. You see, the Abraham Accord today is like an examination for us, for both Israelis and ourselves. An examination so that we can prove to the rest of the world that people from one state to another state can always cooperate, from a state of animosity to a state where they cooperate together and work together. And it should first, we give importance to the social structure between both countries. And from economic point of view, we have more similarities between the Israeli system and the system of the countries who are signing with them Abraham Accord, for example, Bahrain and United Arab Emirates. A NATO with Israel, I agree with him. It is too early to talk about it, but believe me, we have been cooperating with together since long time. Even before Abrahamic Accord, we used to work together for the protection of the region, because after all of us are living in one area. We are not far. I don't know how many hours from Bahrain to Tel Aviv. I think it's like 2 hours, yeah, something very, very nearby. So we are not far from each other, and I think first we have to solidify our social contact, and then the rest will come automatically. And as he said, the Fifth Fleet, based in Bahrain since 70 years now, there is a member of the Israeli army or navy inside the CENTCOM, and so that means Israel is also included in the protection of the Gulf area, so that the flow of goods and services from the Gulf to the rest of the world will be, and thanks to this CENTCOM and to this base that the countries involved in the region are able to export their products and import. Otherwise, it would have been an area of a great conflict. We are very hopeful that this will lead to better understanding, to better cooperation between all the countries.
Good evening, ambassadors. My name is Fabiana Neiva. I'm also a global governance second-year student, and my question would be, in your personal opinions, will diplomacy be enough for solving the differences that are so deeply rooted in the region? And if you think it will be enough, do you think it will be a solid, long-lasting solution?
Okay. I mean, when we signed this Abrahamic Accord, we have negotiated first. We have negotiated, and we know what are the limitations, what are the conflicting issues, what are the things that are impeding and not impeding. So I think personally that it will have a long-lasting. It will be a long-lasting. I think it will develop, and the Abraham Accord will include more countries than it is today in the Gulf area and others. Thank you.
My short answer to you is no. Diplomacy by itself is not going to be enough. Diplomacy is a very important framework, but at the end of the day, the basis in which diplomats work is interest. And we have to make sure that we have a mutual interest, that diplomacy actually helps people and that the fundamental interest exists there. So maintaining a high level of development for us, high level of innovation, high level of Israel being as economical asset and as a country that its participation in different challenges is something of an asset for the other country is going to be extremely important. And yes, we have to be willing to protect our interests also by force and must be able to prepare ourselves to deal with the challenges in our region also, mainly by diplomacy and cooperation, but it will not work if behind that there isn't a willingness, in case that diplomacy doesn't work, also to use force in order to protect ourselves. At the end of the day, judging from our own history, it is only where people believed that they will lose more by war that they chose the path of diplomacy and peace. And I think for us, at least Israel, it is quite important and clear that we need to continue to be able to defend ourselves and show others in the region that we are determined and willing, if necessary, to use force in order to do it. We continue to insist that only when Iran understands there's actually the risk of the other side, being the United States international community, using force, only if they believe that, there's really a good chance for diplomacy to work. Otherwise, we see that diplomacy, since the establishment of the new American administration and new government in Iran, more than a year and a half of negotiation, no success. We believe that part of the reason why this diplomacy doesn't work in this case is because there isn't a clear, more dangerous alternative to diplomacy. And we believe that this is the way the world works. Thank you.
So, good morning, Your Excellencies. It has been a pleasure to hear about this important time and this important thing that you mentioned. My questions is kind of particular. I wanted to ask if in the long term, do you think the Abraham Accords will be able also to be expanded to the Turkic regions in the Caucasus, and also to try to solve problems over there? Also because, for example, between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Israel has a strong diplomatic relations with Azerbaijan, and also Bahrain shares a good, the Kingdom of Bahrain shares a good diplomatic relationship with the Azerbaijan. So I wanted to know if in the long term, do you think both the Caucasus and the Middle East will be able to share peace? Thank you so much.
I very much hope so. We would very much like to use the model of the capability to overcome important challenges, to try to look at the basis for cooperation and show that this can only deal with the challenges that social and economic and climate, etc. challenges, but it creates a different environment that makes it even easier than to have a dialogue on peace and stability. We already seeing the impact in some countries, part of that cooperation, and hopefully this working group that I mentioned in the Nega Forum will start to be open for relevant others that will want to participate in them. Our hope that when we work on energy security, it will be relevant for also the European markets and the European people, which now look at a lot of anxiety on the rising prices of energy. Our hope is that other people in the region and beyond will see that as a model. And we have some cooperation at this stage, mostly with the United Arab Emirates in Africa. We have Israel, United Arab Emirates, some countries in Africa. And then we created a special working group of the United States, India, United Arab Emirates, and Israel, a quadruple sort of arrangement to deal with food security and the storage of energy. So yes, my hope is that we will see that expanding to other countries in the region, maybe not, as I said, as a structural agreement. We have quite a not so good experience with multilateral, with very large participant in multilateral working groups. At the time, around the agreement that we had with the Palestinians, we created the multilateral working groups, and some of them, it was a matter of prestige for countries to participate, and it became a debate club rather than an effort to create a progress on certain issues. So we need to be focused on practical work. We need to join countries who really are interested in trying not to participate in a debate, but to work together with us for their own benefit or for the regional benefit, to work with us. For me at least, I very strongly hope that we will see that, but only history will tell, the sort of a stone that created water circles that go bigger and bigger and bigger to create an environment of good neighborly and relations of cooperation. Thank you.
I think what is important in the Abraham Accord is first of all, there is a willingness. If there is no willingness, nothing will work. I mean, if there is, in diplomacy, if there is one element that is common between both of the countries and it represents their interest, we should have we should agree at least on these things, and then we expand the relationship. But willingness is extremely important, and sometimes being stubborn that creates more conflict in the between nations. Sometimes, if you look at the causes of wars, etc., you will find sometimes it is because of the individuals who are at the apex of the country who pushed for that war, or at least the pressure group around him. Unfortunately, we have to have willingness first, and the rest will come. But willingness is very important. And this agreement could be used globally because it started with willingness and without any preconditions. This is the most important thing.
They say that when there is a will, there is a way.
So thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and a big round of applause.
Yeah, just last remark. I just want to you are the future. You must be, you are the future. So please concentrate on peace, because by peace you can create prosperity. Always use diplomacy. Cling even to one thread of hope. It is better than to cling to war. So it's very important that you should preach for peace and always for peace, and nothing just for peace. Thank you.